Welcome, welcome. Let's make sure this thing is live. Are we live? I guess we're live. Today I'm going to work on this spread, or this splash page. I drew it yesterday, or sketched it yesterday, and now I'm going to ink it really quick this morning. Just trying to crush through this stuff. But hey, also, I wanted to show you guys this. I'm about ready to launch a Cithra campaign on Indiegogo for books 5 and 6, the final campaign. You can follow a link in the description below to go and sign up for the campaign email to be notified when it launches. And I'll send a special discount code to people on my mailing list. So jump on the list if you want a special code. But there's also going to be a lot of discounts already. So if you don't want a big discount, just wait till I launch it. I think I'm going to have massive discounts. Because I'm trying to get rid of a lot of my old stock. That means like Remind 1 and 2. That means Cithra 1, 2, 3, 4. And the new books will be full price, obviously, because I need to afford to print them. But everything else will be discounted, I think. So anyway, and my patrons get the absolute biggest discount. So just so you guys know, if you're patrons. Hey, Nick, welcome. Nick Welch has been working on the lettering and just trying to get those final pages like nice and looking good. He's doing a great job. So yeah, as soon as I get this done, I have this spread and one more spread to ink. Obviously I need to color it, but I have a friend who is helping me with the colors, so he'll take the first stab at it. And then I'll start jamming on Cithra, getting it ready for the printer. All the art's pretty much done. I need to touch up little things here and there. Like there's some pages that went on Webtoons that I'm just like, you know what? That's not exactly the way I wanted it to look, color-wise, or there's not enough detail, or the eyes are like real sloppy and ugly looking. You know, like I inked it really quick and then I never like cleaned it up in Photoshop. So yeah, there's some things I need to do still. My goal is to get it all done while the campaign is live and have it ready for the printer as soon as the campaign's done. Place that order and have it done, have it ready to go. I've been communicating with a printer that's in the States. I was told that they would have like they would be able to compete with the prices of my Chinese printer. And got a quote from them. I'm not sure they're competing. I'm not sure the prices compete. So, I don't know. I think I'm still going to go with my printer that I've been using. Which just means it'll take another month and a half longer to get to me because of shipping on a boat across the world. But I don't mind waiting. If you guys don't mind waiting, then I don't mind waiting. It's just if I do it like if I spend twice as much on the book printing, or even 25% more on the book printing, which is kind of what it is. That it just makes it so I can't charge the prices that I want to be able to charge. So to me, it's more important to get the prices down so that the books can be very cost effective for not only for myself but for everyone else. And I can continue doing it if I push it so that I have to spend top dollar on books just to say they're printed in America or something, then I wouldn't be able to afford to keep making these and self-publishing them. So someday I might be able to do that, but right now I can't justify it if it's just a lot more money for just because, just to save a little bit of time. It's a lot more money. I can't justify it. I just can't. Anyway, kind of mumbling about my campaign. If you guys are just tuning in now, I'm about ready to launch a Cithra campaign for books 5 and 6. So that's what I'm talking about. I'll be printing 2,500 copies of each book, book 5 and book 6. And I'm not going to go over that, because the reason I'm not going to go over that, even if I have a lot of backers, which hopefully I will, but who knows, I can't go over that number because I only printed 2,500 copies of book 4. And I think I printed like 3,000 of book 3. So I don't want to print more than my last print runs. And the idea is I'll just let the books sell out. When they sell out, they sell out. And take a little break from reprinting them maybe. Eventually I'd like to, eventually I'll repackage things. But I need to have a reason for doing it, Sorry guys, I'm not looking at the questions or the comments anytime soon. Let me get a little bit of artwork done and then I'll look at the comments and answer any questions you guys have. I'm keeping pretty true to my sketch. I could almost have just used this sketch. Makes it easy to ink. My computer's lagging just a little bit because of all the stuff I'm trying to do at the same time on my computer. That's supposed to be a tooth. I don't know if it looks like it. Okay. All right. That's some pretty good progress already. Look at this special little feature I got right here. Ready? Ready for it? Bing! Ta-da! There's the comments. Now I can look at comments. I think I can look at them. All right, let me look at some comments. See if you guys got any questions. Not yet. If you guys do have any questions or subjects you want me to... Sorry, I'm picking my nose on screen. If you guys have any subjects you want me to talk about or questions, write it. Let's do this. Write subject in bold or subject in all caps. And then you can write the subject you want to discuss or me, I don't know, talk about. Or if you have a question, write question in all caps. And then I'll see it when I look at the comments real quickly. Oh yeah, put question or subject. Anyone going once? Nick has a question. Can you counter with the price you're paying for your regular printer? See if the guys in the States can match it. Yeah, I actually I sent them the price range that I've been able to get on every single one of my books, my publications, to date, like everything. And I said, if you can get it in this range, then, you know, or even just, you know, just 50 cents higher per book or something, or even $1, I would probably even go, okay, you know. And just to be honest with you guys, it's I've gotten books printed for anywhere between about $2.50 to $5.05. That's the cost price for my hardcover books. It seems like a really good deal, and it is. And that's including the shipping to me, so it's not including the shipping to you. Or any of the handling or anything. There's a couple other fees on top of that, like getting a lift gate and pallet jack when they deliver it. And then there's like some proofing fees on top of that, which end up being, it probably totals another $1,000 on top of that. So, but that was my range, and so I was like, if you can get it close to this, then it helps, because generally speaking, I've heard different numbers for this, but in the industry, book printing, they say that you want to have the cover price be, it's either 6 or 8 times the price that it costs to make the book in order to get through all the systems and be able to make profit. You know what I'm saying? Like the distributors, the stores, all that stuff. The stores take 50%, usually of the cover price. And so you cut out the price of the cost of the book, cut out another 10% for distributor fees, you cut out another 10% or something for any shipping and handling and all that stuff, and you're left with your profits. So, if you're paying half the cover price in printing fees, then basically you make your minus from the get-go, because the stores will take 50% of the cover price. So it's different with Kickstarter, because I can actually take that because I'm the store. Kickstarter's taken between 5 to 10%, or Indiegogo, and the processing fees and all that stuff. But it's still, so I can have a lower ratio. I can have like it be 1/4 of the cover price to be the printing, and that's kind of what I based it on. I'm trying to get, so if it costs me $5 to print a nice hardcover book, then $25 is 1/5, and that's low. That's actually considered risky in the printing world, because you want to have a bigger difference. And but because I'm self-publishing and I'm doing it myself, and I'm warehousing the books in my storage space underneath me, I'm able to do it, and I'm not raking in the money by any means, but it's allowing me to keep doing it. Obviously, there's other things I'm doing, like this comic, to help supplement, and Patreon and all that stuff. So that's the only reason I can do it this way. But it doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense at all for a publisher to do that. Sorry, I just saw something. I want to fix it. So, but as a self-publisher, you can justify it. And so, unless an American printer can really get close to that price, unless they can do that, then I'll have to. The flip side is I would have to up the cover price to like $35 for a hardcover book, which is what the industry would sell a hardcover book of my quality for. They would sell it for, $35, $40, $50, $60 for the kind of quality that I'm printing. And that's the reason why, is because the return on investment wouldn't make sense otherwise. And it would be too risky, and they would lose money from the start. So anyway, those are some of the behind the scenes things that I have to kind of think about and really figure out. Now, there's some advantages I have right now, because I have literally we're talking seriously, you could say $100,000 worth of stock sitting below me in books, because I've overprinted every print run I've ever made. But that's if I sell it. It's like a stock. If you sell the stock, that's when you make the money. So I have a bunch of books, but until I sell it, I don't see that money. And it's all been paid for. It's all been paid for from past Kickstarters. So anything I sell is profit, other than maybe shipping prices and stuff of the past stock. So that's why I'm thinking this time around, I'm going to do massive discounts on my anything old stock. I'm thinking I'll do it at 50% of the price. So I'll cut the price in half for anything old, just to try to clear house and try to actually bring some of that money into my bank account, convert some of that money from books to money. Because it doesn't matter if they're just books sitting in my garage. Anyway, so there you go. There's a little window into the backside of things. Hopefully it makes sense. I see some more questions. Ashcraft says, subject question, can we talk dialogue? How do you know when exposition is too much exposition? Good question. Let me read some of these other questions first before I dive into that. How do you format your brain to think from regular comic to webtoon? Ew, and have you tried Justins? I'm talking with the guys that... Okay, let me answer Eric's question real quick, because it's in the same subject. I'm communicating with the guy that Doug printed Bigfoot Bill with, and Doug was like, dude, they'll match the price. But I'm just like, so far they're not. So there's something missing. Either I kind of have an idea of what Doug spent on books, and Doug spends a lot more on books than I have in the past, just because he gets a lot of bells and whistles added to it. And I'm not really a bell and whistle type guy. I want it to look nice, but once it hits what I want it to be, I don't want to add anything to it. So I don't know. So I am communicating with that company that did Doug's books, and they do a great job, and it is a good price for America. It's just they're not coming close to my price that I've been that my guys quote me, the people that I've used over and over again. So I don't know. Okay, let's get into some subjects. Can we talk about dialogue? How do you know when your exposition is too much exposition? For me, it's when I get bored. If I'm reading exposition and I'm bored, then it's too much exposition. And it's easy to know on someone else's comic or someone else's thing. But really, you gotta remember, at the end of the day, it's about your audience connecting with a character. They can't connect with exposition. They can't connect with some sci-fi politics that go on for pages and pages and describing different colonies and races and cultures, and you know what I'm saying? You can't connect with that. It's like reading like a textbook. But you can connect with a character that you can kind of relate to, and if you can fall in love with this character, then you're willing to you can understand what the politics are and the colonies and the races and all whatever else you want to do, whatever else you're trying to infuse into it. That's complicated storytelling, backstory, exposition type stuff. So I think that's the number one goal, is if you can't start your comic out with characters that the audience can connect to, then they're never going to care about the exposition. Make sense? So figure out that exposition yourself, and then your primary goal is to focus on having there be someone that people can fall in love with and relate to and want to follow around and want to hang out with, So that's my thoughts on it anyway. I've heard things similar like that before in the past from other people, and I agree that that's kind of the goal, It's hard as storytellers too, because we want to tell we want to say the concept for some reason more than we want to talk about like the individual character. We fall in love with our concepts, and then we want to put that in front and say, here's the the big concept. Like, everyone should really like this, and you could plug any character into that concept. And so you're like, great, some really cool concepts, but I don't know anything about any characters. I don't know if I want to even follow any of the characters, because all I see is vague ideas for characters. You know what I'm saying? And I think in that case, you're failing as a storyteller. You're building a world. You could work for a video game studio and design worlds. That's exactly what you're doing, but you're not writing a story. And now there's nothing wrong with writing all those details down and figuring it all out and spending a year doing it if you really want to do that. But again, when you start presenting it to people, in order to make them not bored out of their mind, you need to present characters that they can fall in love with. And the concepts will just be a nice backdrop. So that's what I think. Okay, moving on. Neuro Eru says, question, how do you, see if I can highlight it. How do you reformat your brain to think from regular comic to webtoons? And I apologize, guys. I'm not drawing while I'm answering questions because I can't. I just can't. Either my drawings start sucking, or I don't know. Maybe I can, but I don't want to. Partially it's because I want to edit these into like condensed videos, and it makes it easier for my editors to have the dialogue separated from the drawing. So there's multiple reasons. So how do you reformat your brain to think about a regular comic from Webtoons? I don't. What I do is I only think about the comic and how it's going to work on the pages. And for the most part, I try to hire someone else to think about the Webtoons conversion, because I don't want to retell the story again. And converting it to Webtoons is really retelling the story. But there's been plenty of times when I've had to do it. So I guess let me put my mind into that world. When I was forced to do it, it's just like I don't know what to say. It's like whatever serves the story best for scrolling. Like you might have to reorganize panels because you don't have the page turn reveals. You like a big double page spread, you might want to like cut into multiple places in that scene to like get people to focus on like each little part of the detail of a big panel, so it's that kind of stuff. I'm trying to spoon feed. That's it. I'm trying to spoon feed people information in smaller chunks. Whereas in a comic book with pages, I can kind of like put all the chunks on the page and help guide them through it with the layout and help people lead their eyes around the page. So that's the difference. Another question. Okay, let me answer one more, and then I'll get back to drawing real quick. Oh, and I already answered that one. Steve says, "Hey, Steve, welcome. Have you thought about publishing other creators' books under Coffee Table Comics?" I have. I definitely have. There was a moment, kind of before I went full time, when I was trying to do that, and I was actually kind of helping other artists get books together with the hope that I would publish them. And we're talking like really good artists, like DreamWorks artists who have never been published, but they're amazing artists beyond me. And I was just thinking, I can tap into like amazing artists and I can publish their work. But the only problem is I don't have enough time barely have enough time and energy and desire to do all the things that are required to publish my own work. Because there's a lot of things you have to do that are beyond drawing and telling the story. There's all these schedules and dates for everything, and it's just like I forget everything because I'm not thinking that way. I'm not a publisher. I'm an artist storyteller who's trying to publish my stuff, but it's like I can barely keep up with my own books, publishing them. And so I realized shortly after publishing 2 or 3 of my own that there's no way I would have the interest to publish other people's books. Not in like a I don't care about your work, but it's like to publish someone's work, I have to just dive in, and it has to become my work almost. It's because it's my money, my name on it. I would have to be like, I would need to go out to conventions and really push their stuff, and I can barely even do that with my own. So if I barely have the desire or energy to push my own stuff at conventions and do all these hurdles that you got to jump, then I just know I would be half-hearted with everyone else's work. There's a saying that only you are going to love your work. Only you are going to love your project as much as it needs to be loved. Like you can't outsource the love for your project. I mean, I made that part up. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but as far as like, your vision, my vision, like I'm the only one who's going to wake up in the middle of the night and be thinking about my comic and how to work on it better, and wake up in the morning and start live streaming at 9 in the morning, working on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to do that for anyone else's. Unless, here's the unless I become like, dang it, what was his name? What's his name? Mark Smiley. Unless I become like Mark Smiley and put all my personal books on hold to start a company like Archaea and just publish other people's work. And he did that. He put his comic on hold and he became a publisher for like 10 years. I have an interview with him if you guys are interested. It's a 3-part interview. It's really fascinating talking with him about launching a publisher that became huge, and then he ended up selling it and went back to writing books because he's like, I just want to do my own books now. Finally, there was something fun about publishing other people's books, but I had to completely sever ties with making my own books at that moment because I had to focus on this other stuff. So anyway, I don't want to get into that mindset, and that interview with Mark really kind of helped me realize that. I think really helped me say, you know what, I don't think I have it in me to do that. So I would need to, like, just honestly, I would have to hire someone to be the publisher. I would have to have, so that would mean I would have to have enough money coming in to justify it. I would really have to have someone almost full-time handling, a lot of that. Like, everyone else is basically anything for anyone else would have to be someone else. And even then it would still take up a lot of my mental bandwidth thinking about being over that. And so even with that, I don't even know if I would want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the long answer. Hopefully that makes sense. In an ideal world, I'd love to publish other people, but I don't think I can split my brain that many times. And with that said, let me go back to just some drawing. Blink. Okay, I'll come back at questions in a little bit once I get a little bit more drawn. You know what? I'm going to do the creature on another layer. Man, I'm almost being as sloppy as I am with the sketch. Or maybe the sketch is good enough. I can just increase saturation on it. Or wait, saturation? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm mumbling to myself, guys. Don't worry about me. Just mumbling. Computer totally like stopped thinking for a second. Mm-hmm. Ugliest fingernails. Hey, what can I say? This shirt is the weakest link on this character. It just doesn't look like I know what I'm doing. But I kind of don't. I could have like got some reference. Whatever. It's about the cartoony factor here, I guess. Okay. I'm streaming because I got so much done so quickly. What was it, Friday? Doing that page, that spread in like 4 hours, 3.5 hours or something. And it was kind of a complicated spread. Got so much done. I was just like, man, I just need to jump on this thing and stream again. So my goal is to get this done today. Like get the rest of these pages done today for this book. I have one more spread after this. I sketched them all out. No, 1.5. 3, so basically 3 pages after this that I have to finish. They're all sketched. I just need to ink over them. Looks all right. Let me just check my page size. My brush is looking a little crustier than I wanted it to, but I guess I'm just zoomed in more than I need to be. Okay. Let me save. Let me check out the chat. Check out the chat. Okay, where were we? Okay. Eric, you like my Doug impression? Good. Let's see. Are you coming to any cons in New York City anytime soon? Not in the foreseeable future. I went to the New York Comic Con after I finished Remind, the whole thing, and just to kind of scope it out one year. It must have been 2013, and stayed with a friend, and it was a fun experience. But I just couldn't see the logistics in getting my books over there. And then another year, I went to Florida to the American Library Association Comic Con, not Comic Con, the ALA book fair type thing, and it's a great show, but it costs so much money to get books there, and then I just didn't sell them very good, and so it would have cost more money to ship them back than it would to just lose money on those books. So I ended up just giving all the books away the last day because it literally would have cost me more money to ship them back than to give them away. So I would have lost less money. You know what I'm saying? So I lost a lot of money doing those shows where I have to ship my really big, heavy books. And perhaps it's just because I'm not good at the logistics side of it. But even my wife was helping me, though, trying to figure it all out. And we were trying to do the cheapest way. And yeah, it just didn't work. So if I did do a show like that, I would have to just bring very little stock, like a suitcase full of books, and then once I sell out, then I'm done, you know. But then it makes the expensiveness of the show not worth it, because I need to be able to sell a lot of stock in order to make the profit back for the show, because shows are so expensive now. So it's just kind of a weird situation to be in. So I think I'm going to keep things pretty local when I start getting back into conventions, because I haven't done them in a couple of years now. I'll probably end up doing like the Salt Lake Comic Con first, because it's 3 hours away. I could just literally drive there and come home. I'm saying literally a lot. I could drive there and come home if I need more stock. I don't have to worry about bringing exactly what I need. If I run out, I can come back and get more. I just said that. Okay, so those are some of the reasons I'm not going far with conventions. Sorry, Steve. It'd be nice to meet you in person. All right, any more questions? Okay, I see a question here by Chris. How do you start writing a comic? I'm interested in like starting out visually, but like making anything like that goes nowhere for me. I'm interested in starting out visually, but making anything that goes nowhere for me. I guess I don't quite understand the question. So how do you start a comic? Well, I do think, if it's the very first time you're ever dabbling in comic, then maybe start out with visual ideas. I mean, that's what I did. And get good at visual storytelling, and then you can start dabbling with like more depth, but you always got to get through that. I mean, I don't know where you're at artistically, so maybe you're a brilliant artist, and so it's just a matter of then learning storytelling. But if you're starting out as an artist, then it's a lot of time just invested in making things visually appealing, because comics is all about art, it's a visual medium, it's like that saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. Well, with comics you can, because you should be able to open the book and see more of the same kind of stuff that's on the cover, in the book visually. And so I don't know, I totally went off on a tangent that's totally unrelated to what you're saying. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Like starting with a visual on storyboard type thing. Like starting with a visual only storyboard type thing. Yeah, I mean, that in comics, that's like thumbnails, So you would probably want to thumbnail your comics first and jump in from that point on. So hopefully that helps. I'm having a little trouble tracking with you. Question, do you start with image board rather than storyboard? So like an image board, meaning like you grab a bunch of references and you kind of get an idea of what the color theory is and all that stuff. If that's what you're meaning, not really. I usually I refine what I'm going for as I'm finishing the pages, the first pages, I think. I do a lot of sketches. My initial concept design is really sketchy. It's like a bunch of thumbnails, but not thumbnails, but that quality of sketch, like really sloppy, loose stuff, until I get something that I'm kind of like, yeah, this is kind of a cool look for a character. I like these shapes. I like the, I could naturally draw this, I think, and then I start refining it, and it kind of like the feel kind of starts coming as I'm working on it. Every now and then I'll see something that I'm like, ooh, I really like that finished piece. I want it to kind of feel like that, and I'll grab those pieces and keep them in mind. But yeah, I don't really plan out. I don't really do like I don't do a lot of research for the visuals before I start things, I guess. Because it comes from like a place in my head, and I'm like, I want a mood, I want kind of a feeling, I want something I haven't seen before in a lot of cases, and so I'm like really like, if I see someone else do it, then I don't really want to just do it, because it's been done then, you can obviously get inspired by things and want to do it your way. But I don't like to, I don't know what I'm thinking. It reminds me too much of like the freelance jobs where it's like, here's all these cool things we like. Here's all the concepts, the visuals we've taken from everybody else's stuff. Now make this work, And then it's a real job to kind of figure out what pieces to take from all that and put it together. So it just feels more like that to me, to do it that approach. So yeah, I like kind of like starting with kind of a feeling and a mood, doing rough sketches, refining it, and discovering what it's going to be like through that process. I think that's more enjoyable. Not saying I don't do it the other way, but because I have done that before. But I'm just talking about what I enjoy most, I guess. Otherwise, it's a lot of work that may or may not ever be seen, and I hate making work that never will be seen. So Chris, I'm still trying to see what your response is. Like starting with visual storyboard thing is what I mean. I guess I answered that kind of. I see another question by Chris. Sorry guys, my brain is all over the place. I'm trying to make this as cohesive as possible. Chris asks, do you plan on working with webtoons in the future? At this moment, I don't. I like them. I like what the company's doing for artists that are starting out. I like the people. I don't like the contracts. Not to, it's not necessarily horrible. It's just that I don't like that it can change. Like, I sign a contract, it needs to stay the same until I'm done. But with the Webtoons contract, it can change every 3 months. They say it won't, but it did. I listened to what people do, and it did. It changed like twice for me to where it's a completely new contract by the time I'm done that nullifies everything in the first contract that we agreed on. And that to me is bad business. So I don't think it's anyone's fault there. I think someone else just came in and said, we need to change this because blah, 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 and then they just forced it through. But because of that, it makes me nervous. And there's, when there's money on the table, and my intellectual property, then that kind of stuff makes me nervous. I don't like it when more rights are just assumed away from me. Like, oh, by the way, we want more rights. We didn't agree on it, but we want more now. And you have to sign it in order to keep going with this. And there was a point where I said, I'm not signing this. Okay, I'm just, hopefully this doesn't come back and bite me. But there was a point with Cithra, it was like in the middle of book 6. Like, so it was wrapping up. And it was like when book 6 was starting. Brand new contract, out of the blue, came late. Okay? Comes late every week, every 3 months. I'm asking, where's this contract? Finally they send it. Completely different, twice as long, worded so crazy that I even couldn't understand it. And I've read a lot of contracts, so I feel like I kind of understand what I'm getting into most of the times. But this one was written really bad. I mean, legalese, I mean bad. That's what I mean. And so I can't talk about the details of it, but anyone who has a Webtoons contract will know what I'm talking about. And I was like, I can't sign this. This isn't what we agreed on. And I won't give you any more updates. I'm sorry. It's like, if I have to sign this, then I'm not continuing. And Cithra's done on Webtoons as far as I'm concerned. I'll just start releasing it on my website again. And I'll figure out a way to make money on my own. But I can't sign this. And so it was like a big ordeal, and it was like, well, we really got to do it. And everyone's doing it. This is the new contract. I'm like, but this is not what we agreed on. Like, you promised me. We shook hands and you promised me, and we signed a contract saying this would not change. This is the one thing I was worried about, is the contract changing. And now it's changing. Surprise. So, okay, I'm going to get myself in trouble. So because of that kind of thing, I know the people that I was communicating with, it wasn't their fault. I like everybody I talked with. It's just the legal department came in and just strong-armed everybody. And I understand you want to protect yourself as a company, shelling out all this money. That's great and all. And I still think it's a good opportunity for new artists. So don't get me wrong there. It's great if you've never had that opportunity before and you get offered a featured type thing and you can actually do it. That's a big deal. You have to be able to actually execute it. Move fast, deliver every week, get work done. Don't make excuses, get the work done and deliver it, Then I think it's a great opportunity for people. Regardless of if the contract's a little shaky. Every company might have, Disney contracts are stupid too. So, a contract that says, I own everything you work on, even in your free time, throughout eternity and the rest of and throughout the universe. Like, stupid contract, But that's how it is with Disney and all these big companies. So, what can I say? Little venting here. Welcome to my live stream, guys. Where we keep a positive attitude. So no, I'm not gonna. I don't plan on doing anything with webtoons. There was a comic that I pitched to them that I was going to do with them next, and I was just planning on getting like 6 months of content done up front before I started it, just so that I could not be so stressed out about it. But then after I finished Sithra, I was just like, you know what? I don't think I want to get back into that continual grind, because it's already hard enough to do comics, but to do it at that level, like the manga artists do, it's like, I'm sorry, that's not the way I'm going to live. I'm not going to spend 14 hours a day like obsessing over a stupid comic. Like, this comic is not my life. You know what I'm saying? I love doing it, but I'm not going to, be chained to it and be a slave to it. At least that's what I don't want to be. And, wow, getting real deep here, right? So I would rather take a pay cut and live a life that I enjoy than be mad at my wife and kids because they're interrupting my time making my stupid comic, and not be making very much money anyway, and for a contract that's going to keep changing. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts. How you guys doing? Question from Corey. With comic, quote unquote, cons shifting towards pop culture fandom, where are the good places for indie comic creators to be? Online. Just hands down. I realized it quite a while, several years ago when I did San Diego Comic-Con. I finally got in there. It was so much money. It was such a long process to finally get in there. Such a long, waiting lists and whatever. I finally got a full booth. I moved up from the small press to a full booth. Was like, I'm here. I have Remind 1 and 2, come at me. I was just like, let's get the party started. I have arrived. Not in the I'm the party, but I'm at the party now. So let's participate. I'm going to sell books, right? I'm at San Diego Comic-Con. And it was just like any other con. As far as sales go, I sold good, but I didn't make $4,000 in sales, which is what I needed to make in order to break even. Because the booth at that time was like $2,500 or something. It's probably more now. And then the hotel I had to get was like $1,000 because it was $200 a night, and it was 5 days, and I had to take time off of work and drive, it was just like a huge amount of work. And then it was just all this and it was just like, whatever, no one cares. Yeah, you're one of the many people here, trying to make a splash in an ocean. And and then the next day, after losing money while going to San Diego Comic-Con with a booth and books that sell like hotcakes on their own, right? I go home and I launched the Remind 2 Kickstarter, and it made $107,000. And that's when I realized conventions are the old way of doing things. And it's great for meeting people and meeting fans and meeting other artists. But that's it. In my mind, that's it. Meeting fans and artists. It's not great for getting exposure necessarily. If you can get exposure prior to going to a convention, and then you go to a convention and there's a line of people there to meet you, again, it's about the people meeting you. But the exposure came already, and then The convention is just a way for the people who got exposure to you somewhere else, preferably online, to kind of meet you finally. So it's not the way to build your audience. You know? Like, I would sell, I don't know. I'd sell, say, 50 books a day, That's great. And a lot of those were fans that knew me already. A handful of them, maybe 10 or 20, maybe 20 people that didn't know me maybe. So it's a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of hard work to try to get 20 new fans a day when, you just do stuff like live stream. And YouTube gets your, I don't know, YouTube doesn't always work, but people discover you, make videos online, buy advertising. Like back a couple of years ago, you could do advertising on Project Wonderful and, spend $40 on that and suddenly you have 200 new fans that are reading your comic every week. That's a good return on investment compared to the return on investment at conventions. So, and you can do it in your underwear. I guess people do it in their underwear too at conventions. Nowadays with cosplay. Anyway, off topic, but so I don't think conventions are the way to go to get an audience, to grow your fan base, to do anything. I think it's a good way to meet your peers, good way to meet, make connections a little bit more than online, because it's nice to connect with people online, but in person it's a whole nother level. So that's great. But again, that's the only reason I think conventions are a good thing now. So that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it until I change my mind. Okay, I'm going to keep working. I've been going a little over an hour. Okay, I want to finish this in 2 hours, so I'm going to probably stop talking and I'll try to finish this whole thing and then I'll come back at you. Does that sound good? Okay. No more talking from me. Hey guys, if you're just tuning in, just want to let you know about my my advertisement. I'm about ready to launch a Sithra campaign for books 5 and 6. If you follow the link in the video description, you can get to this page and join the mailing list for the campaign. You'll be notified as soon as it launches. I'll even have a couple discounted tiers specifically for anyone who joins my mailing lists. So jump on the list and you'll be notified. You'll help me launch this thing out of the stratosphere right as soon as it launches, hopefully. And you'll also get some discounts. And just so you know, it's the complete Sithra story. It's about 1,000 pages when you add it all up. I'm only going to do one printing of Sithra in its current form. So if you have the first books, I would recommend getting the rest now if you want them. If you ever want these, because I'm not only going to have a massive discount on anything old, like Sithra 1 through 4 will be 50% off in this campaign, but once it's sold out, then I'm not going to reprint it like this anymore. I'll reprint it in a different way sometime, you know. But right now I'm just trying to clear stock and make room for new books and more things, and eventually, you know, I'll want to collect them into bigger volumes and stuff like that. But it won't be anytime soon for Sithra. So jump on board if you guys like Sithra. I'm still going to shoot to try to get it done before Christmas, delivered before Christmas. The art is all done, other than a couple pages I need to tweak. And I'll try to get it sent to the printer right after the campaign's done, if not maybe even before the campaign's done. And I'm only going to print 2,500 copies. So again, once those sell out, that's going to be all there is of this version of Sithra. So yeah, so get it while you can. And I'll be launching this campaign this month. It'll probably be in about 2 weeks. Is my goal to launch it in 2 weeks. So that's all I got to say. So anyway, sorry for the station break. I got to please my sponsors. Now back to some silent drawing. Hey Nick, that list is different just because of the way Indiegogo collects it. But what I'll probably do is feed any emails that are on that sign up into my mailing list, and then send everybody the announcement through my mailing list. So if you get on that list, then it just means you'll be on my mailing list. If you're on my mailing list, then no need getting on that list. Does that make sense? So I guess I could have answered it a lot simpler than that by saying, yes, it's the same. Basically, I'm trying to figure it out as I go. Although I'm not sure, I will say it might have you on an Indiegogo specific list as well, to where anything with my campaign, Indiegogo might automatically send you an update. I'm not sure though. I don't know, because I've never used Indiegogo before in this way, so I'm still kind of experimenting with it. But to be transparent, anyone who has backed a campaign from me on Kickstarter for Cithra will get the same discount, because they're on my Kickstarter mailing list. Anyone who's on my personal mailing list through Coffee Table Comics, I will give them the same notification and discount. Anyone who is a patron will get the biggest discount. I'll give my patrons a bigger discount than anyone else, and kind of give them, I don't know, their own kind of perks. And who else? Who else will get something? That's it, I think. But also, as far as the campaign goes, I don't know if you guys heard me when I talked about it earlier, but all my old books, I'm planning on having them 50% off cover price. So that means Cithra 1 will be $10, Cithra 2 will be like $12.50, Cithra 3 $12.50. Remind 1 soft cover will be $5. You know, like just ridiculous prices. So that's my plan. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to get through my stock. I have a bunch of books, and I just want to get them into people's hands. I've already paid for them, so it's not hurting me. And if I'm ever going to like reprint Remind as a hardcover collected, then I need to get rid of a lot of my Remind copies that I have, because I can't justify building more shelves for different versions of Remind if I still haven't sold my soft covers. Save. Okay. See some more questions, I think. Chris asks. Oh, let me hold on. Chris asks, any ideas of what you will be doing next after Shapes? Yeah, I'm planning on jumping right back into Phobos. Hopefully the last 2 months of this year. And when I'm working on Phobos and I don't have a lot of other random things pulling at my attention, I can move really fast on it. And so my goal is to, I've completed about 200 pages already. My goal is to get another 200 to 300 pages done by February of next year, and launch a new campaign for a big fat 400 to 500 page hardcover of Phobos, the first volume. And I want to do that to just test the market with Phobos, because Phobos is something I can keep coming back to probably the rest of my life. And if there's a really good response for that campaign and for that first book publicly, if libraries like it, if bookstores buy it, if there's just an excitement for it, then I'll keep going. If not, then I will probably there's one other project that I'm really, really wanting to start on. It's just timing. It's the one that I was going to do it on Webtoons, but if Phobos doesn't really take off, doesn't land well, and just blow up, and people are if they're like that with Phobos, then I'll probably jump onto this other one. But the goal is to just really try to just take a little bit of money from the Kickstarters, put it into account. I don't need a lot of money to live here, and so it's surprisingly small what I need. And so if I could just put aside enough to survive on for so many months, then I can generate the next product and launch a Kickstarter for it. And so that's kind of my approach, is I want to make sure that whatever I do next really pays me back, I guess. And until I find that one that's really going to hit big, it's hard to have a long-term strategy for it if it's not going to be very successful. Sithra is a good example. It's and I don't know if I should talk about this, but because it definitely doesn't help sales, but it hasn't really performed very well as far as bookstores and libraries and all that stuff. And I have my suspicions why. I think it's just too much money to buy this collection. Because it's 6 hardcover books, and the first one is doesn't have a lot of content in it, so it doesn't really sell people on the idea of continuing to buy this story for $25 an issue. But Remind worked really well because it was only 2 volumes, and plus Remind was Remind. So, but I'm thinking it was only because of Webtoons coming in and paying me to keep moving fast on it that it got done like it did, So I am grateful for Webtoons in that sense. And but as far as the book itself goes, it's I don't think it's found its audience. There's a real small, very, very what's the name for it? It has a real small cult following, I guess you would say, or really fanatical fan base. But it's small, It's not is not big enough to sustain it if I were to continue something like Cithra. And so I really want to make sure that the next thing kind of is received a little better. And I think part of the problem with Cithra is it was hard to market. Like, I still don't quite know how to market it very well. It doesn't like tickle people's ears when I pitch it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe it's just the way I'm pitching it is wrong. But I still think it's my best story. I think it's exactly what I wanted it to be. I'm really proud of it. It's just it's hard to sell it. It's hard to get people to give it a shot, you know? And well, I don't know why. Is it because it's about a little girl? I don't know, you know? So, I mean, Miyazaki sells stories about little girls all the time. So I know that's not the problem. But, yeah, it just hasn't had the success that like Remind had as far as sales. And it hasn't had the mass appeal that Remind has. So I want to make sure that the next thing I do does before I make it into a long epic, like 5 volumes and stuff. Like Phobos, I have about 3 volumes that I could tell, but I could also get away with having the first volume that's 500 pages be satisfying, you know? At least it would be to me. So ideally, I would want to keep going on Phobos, though, until I finish the 3 volumes. So that's my thoughts. It's kind of my future plans. And I want to kind of like not do any like little small things to pay the bills in between. I want to just like be all in, which is a little more risky, but I think it pays off better. I want to be all in, like finish a book enough to where I can kickstart it and then send it to people. You know what I'm saying? And if that one doesn't work, then start a new one. But I want to give enough content on those books that they're satisfying. You know, I don't want to ever leave a story hanging. You know, so it would have, even though the sales for Cithra were not incredibly positive in comparison to like Remind and stuff. As I kept doing the Kickstarters, you know, the sales kept kind of going down and the overall sales are kind of going down. I felt like I had to keep doing it because I need to get this story done. I don't want to like have half of Cithra done and then be like, well, it's not selling as good as I want it to, so I'll have to pull the plug on it. You know, I don't want to do that. And so going forward, I just really want to make sure that the next long-term thing is something that people really resonate with. And sorry, I just saw something. Okay, so that's the strategy. Finish up Shapes by the end of this year. Start working on Phobos again. Get a 500-page book done by, say, February or March, so that I can launch another Kickstarter campaign for that. While that is going to print, and based on the numbers, it'll determine if I start a different book or keep working on Phobos 2. So that's the plan as of right now. Plans always change, though, but that's my plan. Excuse me. Turn off those stupid PS tooltip pop-ups. How do you do it, Nick? I was thinking about that the other day. Like, come on, you stupid. Why do I need these dumb things showing me how to use an eraser? How do I use the eraser? That's how. How do you do it, Nick? Is it in Preferences? Interface? Gotta help me out. Help me figure out how to turn off these pop-ups. Okay, let me... Where are we at? Where we at? There we at. Steve says, in all bold, all caps, need to get the set of Citricide and give mine away as a gift. I appreciate that. Yes. Not to just be a big advertising campaign, but this would be a great time to get a bunch of extra copies of Citra because I'll have them at such a cheap price. And even Remind I'll be selling the set for like, what, $12 for the set? So like stock up. Give them away. The best thing about like my kids having birthday parties that they have to go to is I can just like give them all the comics that I've made. So total unrelated story. Okay, I better hurry up. My eyes are starting to get tired. Hello, Jason. Discovered you a while ago. Is it possible to you to review comics and give you feedback and perspective? Yes. Send them. Go to Brew Crew on Reddit. Oh, yeah. Where did I see it? Right here. Did someone just post it? Where is it? So go to Reddit, and then the subreddit is Brubaker _ submissions. I should have called it Brew Crew, but whatever. Oh, there it is. Let's open this in a new window. So this is my subreddit. You can see all the ones that I've checked are ones I've actually reviewed. They may not be live yet because I've been going through these, and having editors edit what I send them, videos of me responding and going through comics and whatever people put in here, I review it. It's just it takes a little time, and I'm actually stockpiling these videos to go live once my campaign is live, so that I can plug my campaign every time I post a new video. So there's a reason for the delay right now. But post it on here. Just join up. There's 128 members that are in this group. So join up with the Brew Crew and post your submission, and I'll review it. And I'll put it on a YouTube video. And other people can look at it too. So, what else? Preference, Photoshop tooltips. Tool. Ah. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Lifesaver. Okay, guys. I'm going to pull the plug on the chat window for a second. And I'm going to get back to inking. How much time I got? 47 hour and 47 minutes? I'm not going to get this thing done in 2 hours. I've been talking too much. It's all right. It's all right. I can do it. I can still do it. If my brushes work. What's going on? Wrong layer. All right, let me take another little break. I keep thinking I'm going to just power through it and not answer questions, but questions are a nice little break. If there are questions anyway. Always sunny in Philly. Question, how often... Let me turn this on. How often do you watch TV, whether it's shows or movies? It depends. Let me do this. Turn that off. I'll try to work and draw at the same time. It depends. Sometimes I go through phases where I don't watch anything, and I loathe it. Oops. And then sometimes I watch something almost every night, or I try to. This is as much as I can stay awake. And then other times I work on other things, whether it's music or even other like little projects or something, if I want to write something different, like outside of the norm for me, then that might be something I do at night. But I've been kind of on a roll with watching TV at night the last week or two. My wife and I just finished watching this really strange movie called Animal World, and it's not a documentary. It's like it's all subtitled. And man, the creature design in that was so like strange and satisfying, and it was really well done. It just completely I had no idea what in the world it was going to be like. It was kind of like, it was almost like an adult version, not adult, a grown-up version of what are those card games, like Digimon or whatever. That doesn't make sense because they're not fighting monsters, but they're playing cards. The whole movie, once it gets into the main premise, is like it's a card game. But it's like laced with all these crazy visual effects, and it's like I don't know, it was just really strange. Never seen anything like it before. So that was kind of neat. It's nice to find something like that that's like different and doesn't make me angry that I watched it. Or doesn't make me angry that I tried to start watching it. And every now and then we'll get into a TV series that we'll kind of power through and watch every night until we're done with it. But that hasn't happened anytime recently. My wife also does a lot of exercise classes that she teaches, and sometimes they're at night, about half of the week. And so, so we won't be able to watch it like every night sometimes because of her classes and stuff. I'm way too zoomed in. But I'm gonna keep going. I'll try to answer a question while I'm drawing. So I have a question here from Ashcraft. Can you speak on lettering? How can you tell what good lettering is versus bad lettering? What fonts? Font sizes would you consider? I think anything that's bad lettering is when the lettering takes you out of the story. So I know that's a real general answer, but that's kind of the main thing that I look for. And that's why I ended up making my own fonts for my comics, is just because it was too much work to find lettering that didn't feel like it was not part of my comic, you know? And so I just made my own lettering, and then it fits, and it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel too clean. Excuse me. It doesn't feel too clean or too, fancy for my scribbly art. I read in some book, I think I even put it in Unnatural Talent, that the best lettering should be invisible. Like, you shouldn't notice it. And then so that's a good rule of thumb, like if the lettering is takes you out of the story and you're constantly distracted by it, then that's generally bad. But then there's things like Cithra, like where I purposely kind of made the lettering overemphasized in a lot of ways. So I don't know. But with Cithra, I tried to make it like an old book font. So I used Garamond, and then I traced over it to kind of get my own version of Garamond. And I think it works well. Some letterers will be totally against that and be like, why would you use Garamond? It's a type font for books, But there's a reason, the story of Cithra is, well, if you read it, it makes sense within the story to have a book font. And so it just made sense to do it. And I was really trying to bridge the gap between prose and graphic novel at the time. I feel like I think I was successful with it, and I'll definitely keep doing that kind of stuff, experimental stuff, in my next books and stuff. So you just got to take into all that into consideration, I think. What fits the book? Like, there's kind of got to be a reason for it. You know, if you are going to use an old book font, what's the reason? You know, like if it makes sense to you why you're using it, then that's good. And I like to trace over top of fonts or make my own fonts just so that it feels a little bit more hand lettered. That's my own preference. And as far as word balloons and stuff, I don't like to make those just so uniform and perfect and round, and I like to make those kind of part of the art. So I tend to kind of want to hand draw my word balloons. Again, so that it all feels cohesive. I've said cohesive like twice in the stream. So it all feels like it fits together naturally. Now this book, Shapes, is going to be lettered by someone else, so this will be the first time that someone else letters my stuff. So I'm kind of curious how it's going to look when it's done. I don't think there's anything wrong with like buying a font though, or like going to Blambot and getting one of those fonts, you know, or buying my fonts from Gumroad, hint hint, which are way cheaper than everyone else's fonts. And I don't think there's anything wrong with using anyone else's fonts as long as it fits, you know, as long as you think it fits your book and your style and it feels right and it doesn't distract from anything. Jessica asked, any good guides or tutorials you'd recommend on creating your own font? Oh, I don't know, actually. I mean, I wrote about it in Unnatural Talent a little bit. I wrote about it on RemindBlog a little bit. So you could search remindblog.com and find my articles about fonts. I haven't really studied it recently and seen any new, you know, looked into it any more than I did back in the day. So I kind of make it the same way. I go to yourfonts.com. I download their little template. I fill it out either digitally or traditionally, and then I just experiment with it until I get it right, and then, you know, so I don't know. It's kind of a designer type question, probably. There is a couple books that I was recommended on fonts and design and words and type. Which I can't say I've read through them thoroughly, but in flipping through them and reading parts, it gave me a lot of ideas, you know, and I could show you those. Hold on one second, Jessica. Let me see if I can find them. here's a book I was recommended by a designer that I really trust, who does a really good job with type. It's called Design with Type by Carl Dare. Carl Dare. And inside it just has a bunch of visuals mixed with prose, just to give you examples and talk about all the different fancy ways to think about type, which is great, you know. So it's really like design heavy, which I think is good, because comics are visual. So check that out if you want. I just bought it used on Amazon. So that will give you some ideas anyway of how to think about it and what's probably correct and incorrect according to designers. And just so you know, I'm always leery when it is advice specifically by comic professionals about how comics need to be done. You know, so you'll see a lot of lettering advice, you know, out there, like this is how you need to do it. And it's just not true. You don't have to do it like Marvel Comics. You don't have to, you know, why? Why do you need to copy that? If you're doing a Marvel comic, yeah, you know, but we're not doing Marvel Comics. So, so I like to experiment with, like, everything. You know, you can listen to the advice by, you know, professionals that want you to do it the professional way, and understand what they're talking about, and then make your own decision. Which is basically my whole career. That looks kind of funny. Does that look funny? Yeah, it looks okay. Funny, haha. Alright, let me pull this question back on screen. Excuse me. Okay, we did that one about fonts. As an independent artist, Paul C. asks, in the U.S., how do you go about healthcare for yourself and your family? If you don't mind my asking, living in Idaho may be cheap, but does that include healthcare? ? That's a great question. Surprisingly, when I lived in L.A., healthcare was this crazy thing that everyone was screwed over on, and everyone felt trapped by it. They just, like, you had to get the good job to get the good healthcare, and healthcare was just horrible expensive, and it was just a nightmare. And if I left DreamWorks, and that means I'd leave the union, and then I wouldn't get this super amazing healthcare that I still had to pay all this money to get in, to be a part of, and union dues, and you know, and I still had to pay a small percent, but it was a real good healthcare, you know. So there was this kind of like this sense of like fear that if I lost it by moving out of this situation of being in DreamWorks and being in a union and being like all these things being provided, that I would be just in a horrible situation. And I'm not saying this is how it works for everybody, but we moved to Idaho. So the cost of living goes way down. We sold our house in LA and pretty much were able to buy a nice house here with that money, almost outright. I have a small, I have a home equity line of credit on it, but that's basically my mortgage bill is this home equity line of credit, which is still a decent amount I have to pay. But we paid a lot of it with this house. And so because of that, I don't have to make a lot of money here to pay the bills. We had 2 cars, we paid them off. But my car actually broke down so much that I'm leasing a car through the business now. So that's another story. That's another situation that's interesting. But I'm leasing the car through the business, so if it's not paid through from my pocket. So it comes off as a business write-off, and I pay the car payment through the business, and then I pay myself, I write myself a check that goes into my personal account, which counts towards income. Does that make sense? I'm not giving tax advice. I'm not allowed to, but that's what I do. And, so because of the cost of living being so much cheaper, I haven't made a huge amount of money here, but it's knocked us into lower tax brackets than we were in LA. And because of those tax brackets, because of Idaho and stuff, we're getting massive, what is it? When they deductions, massive, where they give you, what is the name for it? They say your health care is going to be this much, but the state compensates this much. So your bill is only this much. This might drive people nuts at hearing this, but I pay like $50 a month for health care for my whole family. And that's my bill. And I'm not doing anything that's like to finagle those numbers. It's just that's what they're saying I have to pay. It'd be a lot more if I made a lot more money. And the first couple of years, it was like around $100 a month because I made a little bit more money the first couple of years. Last year I didn't make very much, so it got knocked down to like $50. They gave us more towards that, So, and the kids are taken care of for free by the state. That's just the way it works here. I don't know. It's an Idaho thing. And I have a little bit of extra I pay because I want more dental because I have a lot of dental problems. And so that is like another $30 a month. So the numbers are just ridiculously low. And the only time they'll increase is if my income increases like crazy. So I'm really careful I try to be really careful with my Kickstarters. This is another hint. Be careful with my Kickstarters that I spend all that money within the same year as much as I can. And that way I'm not taxed. I'm not thrown into a higher tax bracket because on paper I've made $50,000 extra dollars. You know what I'm saying? I spend that money through the business. It all stays in a business account. I spend it through the business, and I'm only paying myself. I'm only pulling out money, drawing money out for personal bills monthly, and the rest of the money stays in the business, and I don't see it. It operates the business. It pays for books. It pays for shipping. Pays for the car lease, all that stuff. And so that's the benefit of having a business, and it's the benefit of living in Idaho and not making a whole lot of money. Like if there's a day when I make, say, $100,000 in a year, that's a big increase for me here. In Idaho, that's a big increase. If I made a bunch of money like that, then yeah, my healthcare will go up. I don't know what bracket it will be in, but I'll probably have to pay $800 a month or whatever. I don't know what it will be. I don't know because I've never been in that world. But it was just very surprising that, it's been a lot easier to live here in Idaho with everything. Like every aspect of it has been like, oh, well, that's cool. Thanks. I'm glad that they do it like that here. And so it's made me realize LA and California is just completely screwed up. They have no everyone's being lied to and manipulated. I don't know. It's not the problem that it was made out to be. And yes, it's because there's a lot of help that's being made, help from the state and stuff, but it's based on tax brackets and stuff like that. Oh, this should not be what I talk about on this channel because I have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's been very pleasantly, surprisingly good for us here. And tax-wise, wow, do we really want to go here? Tax-wise has been really good because I own the business. I try to keep all the money in the business except for what we need for living, and so because of that, taxes have been really good for us. Like we get money back and stuff like that, and so now tax season is not. It's a burden to do it, but it's not a burden on us financially like it was in LA. So all those factors make it possible for me to live like this, Hopefully that answers that question. Ben asks, what brush are you using? It looks great. I'm using one that's just like it's just a big pressure one. It was one that we used on Kung Fu Panda, and so it's not super special. It's just it's a pressure sensitive brush, but it's just rough. It has a sharp, it's clean edges, so it's not blurry, but it's just rough. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can pull up the. Has shape dynamics and a texture on it in smoothing, and it's just an oval brush. It's just been distorted a little bit at an angle, but it's pretty basic. It's not anything super fancy, but yeah, I've just gotten used to using it, so I keep using it. But in Clip Studio, there's one that I like even better than this, and it's just one of their inking brushes. And I use it for everything, for drawing and sketching and inking. Same with this one. I use it for sketching and inking. I just don't like changing brushes all the time. Oh, thinking. Oh, let me get these comments off here, unless there's more questions. Question: when do you decide to do digital versus traditional inks? Let me close this window. I really like traditional, but it's just been slowing me down more and more than I want it to, and so with Phobos, it was kind of an experiment to just try to do it all digital, or it was kind of more like mixed medium. Like I figured I'll just do whatever I wanted to do with Phobos at the time. And so I started just doing it digital, just to experiment with it. And I really liked how it looked. And so I just kept doing it digital. Citra, I really wanted to do all with the Pentel brush pen. And so that's why I did that. But after getting Clip Studio and like trying a couple more things digitally, I realized that digital is really pretty sweet. I mean, there's some cool things you can do with it. And it definitely speeds up time. You don't have to print stuff out and scan it back in and clean up the scans and all that stuff. Excuse me. And so with this project, with shapes, I was gonna go like full on traditional, because I was like, well, they're paying me, so I'll do it the traditional way. But then I experimented with it for like 2 seconds, and I was like, I'm going to hate that I started doing this. And instead of doing it the longest way possible, I need to figure out the fastest way possible. And I sent them a picture of Phobos that I was working on, and it was really rough. It was using this brush, and Rick, the guy whose project this is, he loved it. He's like, I love how rough that is. And I was like, all right, sold. Like, I'm gonna do it like digital with the same kind of brushes that I use with Phobos, and just crush through this. So, and I'm really glad I did, especially because it's a commissioned work. So I'm glad I decided on the faster approach, because the longer I work on commissioned work, the harder it is to stay motivated, because I want to start working on my own stuff again. So, but I would assume that I'll probably stick with digital for a little while now. See how I like it, Who knows? It might be the thing I just keep doing. I like having that original art, though. But I mean, you guys can see how fast I'm moving on this, and I don't do that when I'm inking it on paper. I'm a little bit more scared to just throw things down like this, which maybe is a good thing. It might help the style if I'm a little more scared of it. But I really love how Phobos is looking, so I'm very pleased with the digital process that I found with that comic. Getting a little sloppy right there. I'm just trying to get this page done. I need it to be done so I can move on. I think those socks keep getting higher and higher on his legs. They're like leg warmers now. Not what I was planning. We did it. We did it. Move over. Oh, I'm messing it up. Come on. All right, that's pretty well centered. All right. Before we go, if you guys are interested in getting my books, I'm about ready to launch a campaign for Sithra. It will be for Sithra books 5 and 6. It's the final campaign. This will be the biggest discounts I've ever had on any of my library of books. You'll be able to get the full Sithra book set, obviously. Everything that's already printed that I've printed in the past will be 50% off as far as my graphic novels. There might be some books like Phobos, the old version, that I don't do that to, just because it's print on demand. So I can't do it. But anything I have in stock, I'm going to sell for 50% off. And this campaign will be the best way to get my work, basically, as far as price. So I'm going to throw out a number, but I believe you'll be able to get Sithra 1 through 6 for $99. That's like 50% off 1 through 4, and then it's the full price for 5 and 6. But that's like a ridiculous price, just because it is. But there's also going to be box sets and slip cases and the signed and numbered book plated versions of everything too. You can get the full package of that. Those will be a little higher price because they're collectors, and I'm not going to sell those for half price. But if you just want to get the stuff, this is going to be the time to get it. The full Sithra book story is about 1,000 pages, full color art. So this is going to be a huge collection. I'm really proud of the story. I think it's my best story that I've written. I guess I've only written a handful of them now, but I'm really pleased with it, and I think it's exactly what I wanted it to be. So I hope you guys join. You can go to the links in the description below and sign up for the mailing list, and I'll let you know. Or if you're on my mailing list at coffeetablecomics.com, I'll let you know there as well. I'll be giving a bigger discount to my patrons. So any patrons out there, wait for me to send you links, and I will send you the best discounted code possible. You'll be a little bit more off than what I give everyone else, basically. And snap. What else? If you guys want to show me stuff, you can go to my subreddit, Brubaker Submissions, also known as Brew Crew, and you can post your art here, and I record videos of myself going through and looking at it and responding to it and critiquing it and sometimes reading comics and whatever. But I will see it. If you post it here, I will see it and I will respond to it. It's the only guarantee that I have that I can actually respond to it, because of the amount of stuff that that people want me to see. If you guys want me to review your comics as well on my YouTube channel, like physical comics, feel free to send me comics, your books, or whatever. I'm more than happy to review stuff as long as it doesn't have like a bunch of nudity and swearing and stuff. I'll be more than happy to promote it on my channel. I try to keep it kid friendly, so I don't generally recommend books that are, for adults. So that's that. But yeah, so I'll be launching this Indiegogo for Sithra probably in about 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens. I have high hopes. I really hope you guys help me spread the word on it, and because if this campaign does well and puts a little bit of money in my bank account, then I'll be able to just shoot forward on new graphic novels at breakneck speeds without worrying about how to keep the bills paid. That's such a huge part of this whole game, is just like having the peace of mind to be able to produce quickly. If I don't have the peace of mind, it's weird. If I don't have the peace of mind and I'm worried about being able to pay next month's bills, then I start just taking random offers, and I start working for like random little things, and I start saying, hey guys, if you give me $100, I'll review your comic online, or I'll start doing things like that, and then it just turns into like a lot of work that I'm juggling and thinking about, and then my mind is bogged down even more, and then I end up pushing my comics to the side and to try to fulfill all these little obligations for a little bit of money here and there, and it just turns into I'm stressed out and overwhelmed and unhappy with what I'm doing, and I want to quit. So hopefully this campaign will put some money in the account so that I can live for so many months and be able to churn out the next books and get ready to launch the Kickstarter for the next one. You know what I'm saying? That's how I want to operate. Ideally, that's how I want to work. And not quite there yet, but we're getting closer. And I'm excited. I'm excited for Shapes to be done. I'm excited for this campaign, and I'm excited for the next campaign, which will be Phobos. And hopefully you guys like what I make. Hopefully it's as good as I think it is. And it can justify you guys getting it. I don't want to sell you on cheap garbage that isn't worth the value, So hopefully this is all worth the value, and hopefully it's exciting and encouraging for you guys. And that's it. That's all I got. 12 o'clock here. Perfect time for me to quit and go have lunch. And then I plan on doing one more page today, but I'm not going to stream that. So let me check to make sure you guys don't have any more questions. I think I got one more. Right here. Mia asks, any suggestions for deciding a style for your project? I tend to have a few different styles, and I'm not sure which one I want to stick with. I'd just say, as far as style goes, find you have to have the style fit the content. When I worked at DreamWorks, I was really trying to get certain people to make 2D animated comic content, and they were like, we cannot sell that idea. And well, okay, so this might not answer the question perfectly. It might not be the right justification, but the whole idea was in order to make a 2D movie, we have to have a reason to make a 2D movie, and it's a stylistic choice. And so it's the same with like your comic styles, I think. Like, why are you making the choices you're making? With Phobos, I'm making those stylistic choices because it's based on classic horror TV shows like The Munsters and Addams Family and these old black and white movies like The Wolfman and stuff. It's based on that, so it has to have. So I made stylistic choices that reflected that and made it feel like that. The film grain, the black and white, it's black and white, because whenever I put color into it, it didn't feel like that anymore. And so the style came out of the content, because of the content. What kind of content? So anyway, I think you should think about it in that way, and like let that influence the style you choose, especially if you have a toolkit of styles that you can turn on and off. If you have that and if you enjoy it, it's also a big part of it is if you enjoy it, The other thing I would say as well is there a necessity of like a speed necessity you need, or you know, like if you're like putting it on Webtoons, then you're going to be better off picking the style that's quicker for you to generate. So there's a couple Webtoons on there that are really impressive as far as a quick style that actually looks really good. And then there's a whole pile on there that are like, ugh. But we won't talk about that. I see one more question by Steve. Are we only going to be able to get shapes from Cave Studios, or will have copies, or will I have copies maybe? I don't know the answer to that exactly. It's their comics, so they have the rights to it. You know, unless I negotiate something with them as far as how, you know, me publishing it, well, that's a publishing question. As far as me being able to sell it, I'm sure I could buy a bunch of them from them. I don't know what the logistics would be like if I could buy them for cost price. If they sell them to me for cost price, then I guarantee you I will buy a bunch of them, and I will have them to be able to sell myself or in person or conventions or something. But I'll probably buy a bunch and just have them so that I can have them to sell. It's not like I want to like load up my online stores with random things that I need to fulfill all the time. So I won't buy them so that I can just become a distributor of them. I'll more or less buy them if I can to just sell to people that I meet or in conventions, or when I'm having a sale online or something like that. You know, like I usually do a sale on November. Or if I have a Kickstarter campaign, I could include them into that. You know what I'm saying? As a additional item that I'll sell that's signed. So that's all I know. I don't know for sure though. And that's it. That's all I got. That's all you guys got too. No more questions. Thanks for watching, you guys. Appreciate all your support and your questions and your conversation. And I appreciate Nick hanging out and moderating this. Thank you, Nick. Hey, there's Michael too. Woohoo! Michael's a moderator too. You guys be nice to Michael and Nick. They'll ban you. All right. See you guys next time.